back to my channel. It's Andrea, and it is the end of the month, so that means it's time for my Pan Those Eyeshadows update. It's not the most exciting update ever, but we are rolling some stuff out, so I guess it's kind of exciting in that regard. I am going to change up the shadows that I'm picking a little bit, which I'll talk about more when we actually get to the part where I select new shadows. But as always, this is a project that was created by Alexi here on YouTube, and even though she's not doing it anymore, I think she's just doing Pan That palette instead. This project really blew up last year. I know that Too Much Tash and Rebecca Morgan were the two YouTubers that I first really saw doing this project, and they just made it look so fun. And now you can search Pan Those Eyeshadows and there will be hundreds of videos that come up. So I will, as always, have Alexi's channel linked down below, and we're just gonna start talking about some eyeshadows now. I do have one bonus pan, which if you watched my first update for Roulette Pan Collab Round 8, you will know what it is. But it comes from my Jackie Aina palette, and it is this shade Trust Issues, right? Can you, oh my goodness. I don't know if you'll be able to see the pan just because of the nature of the shadow is like a duochrome white gold. So I'll insert a picture, but I did hit pan in it. I'm not making it up. What am I doing? This goes over here. Okay, and then now we're going to get into my actual shadows. And the first one that has been in the project, how long has this been in the project? I'm not prepared as usual. 16. This has been in the project for 2 months. And my daughter Madeline likes to help me with my makeup, and she broke the palette, so I have to be very, it smashed on the kitchen floor and it just broke the case, but none of the shadows were affected. So I had the shade Pug, and I know you can see that pan. I actually just hit that this morning, which I've been putting off filming this video because I knew that I was so close. So I'm glad that I waited, because now I can roll it out. Oh, I'll swatch it. I'm trying to remember before the end of the video. There it is on my finger. It is barely noticeable on my eyes. You won't, I don't even think you'll be able to see the shade. It is, I mean, where did I put it? I can't even see where I put it. It's right here. I used this 42 times before I hit pan in it, and the only reason I was able to hit pan is because this is such a light shade, and it's so close to my skin tone that I would put it in my transition area every single time I did my makeup. So that's why I used it so much and how I was able to hit pan on it. And I'm really glad that it's gone, because as much as I like having matte shades that I can work with, that's just boring, especially in conjunction with the next shade. Comes from my ColourPop Misunderstood, and it was the shade No Spots. So you can see the dip. There's a little bit of a dip. I've used this one 20 times, and mostly I used it how I'm using it today. I have it in my inner corner, and then I have this Diablo shade on top of it. I mainly am using it like on my inner corner and then putting a shimmer or metallic on top of it to brighten it a little bit. So I mean, I've I've hit pan on a ColourPop pressed shadow in one of their palettes before, and it's gonna take a long time, so we may be rolling this out next month, but we'll see. And then the final shade that comes from a palette is, I had the dark green shade in my e.l.f. Bite Size palette in Hot Jalapeno. I used this 7 times. You can see there's a little, as I like to say, a little disturbance, but it's such a dark shade. I don't know, it's gonna be kind of hard to see, but I've only used it 7 times, so still working at it. Actually, I'm wearing every single shade on my eyes today. Here, even though it's just a white, let me swatch no spots. So there's no spots, and then here's the green. So Pug is all in my transition, which you can't see it because it's like pretty much my skin color. I have no spots. Like I said, it's on my inner corner, and I have that other shade from that palette on top of it. And then this green shade is in my outer corner. The first shade we have from my singles is this ColourPop shade in Sweet Spot. You can see a little bit of a dip right there. This has been in for 2 months. I've used it 5 times this month, and I used it 10 times last month for 15 times. And this may seem like cheating to some. Well, because as per my rules, I can roll something out if it's been in for at least 2 months and I think it's going to take a long time. And this is going to take a long time, and I just don't want to work on it anymore. So I'm going to roll this one out. So we'll swatch that one. I have to try not to cover up the other swatch, but it's going to be pretty hard. So it's yellow. I have that in my crease today. And then the last 2, I have this Super Shock shadow in Arrow. I've used it 7 times, no pan. I was kind of hoping that I could get this one out, but I just haven't used it enough, and it's a really pretty shade anyway, so it's okay that it's still in here. It's kind of like a duochrome orangey reddy pink color. It's very pretty, very fall appropriate. And then lastly is this Profusion liquid shadow in Rose Gold, which for things like this, my rule is I have to use liquid shadows or loose powders or things you can't really hit pan in. I have to use them 20 times, and I did use it 20 times. So here it is here. I'll insert a picture of my eye look too, so it's a little bit closer. You can see it a little bit better, but so I have Arrow in the like inner half of my lid, and then where the dark green and Arrow meet, I tapped the Rose Gold shade over it. And I also, just so I could get my 20 uses, now this might be cheating just a little bit. This, my eye was in use 19, so I just wanted to be done with it. So I actually tapped some out over my lipstick today as my 20th use, since it's a totally separate application then from my eye. So yeah, that's 20. So I'm rolling 3 shades out. One, because I actually did hit pan on it. One liquid shadow because I hit my 20 uses, and then one of my singles just because it's been in for 2 months, and given the way that it's going, even if I kept it until the end of the year, I would not have pan on it, and I just don't, I want to actually rotate through some of my collection. So with that being said, now we're going to come to the part where I'm changing it up just for the last 2 months a little bit. So I have a lot of eyeshadow, and I've bought a lot of eyeshadow in the past year, and I'm getting a little tired of, even though I have so many eyeshadows, when I randomly generate them, I feel like I'm getting the same palettes all the time. I've had the Emily edit the Wants in 3 times. I've had the BH Cosmetics Aurora Lights palette in twice. I think there's another palette. I've had the Sweet Peach palette in twice. And I feel like most of my singles that I've rolled in have been ColourPop in one form or another, because I do have a lot of ColourPop. So I want to get some use out of my newer stuff. So what I'm going to do is when I randomly generate my shades, I'm only going to generate the numbers from shadows that I have purchased this year. So with my eyeshadows, that is going to start with number 408 with my ABH Subculture palette, because that's the first palette that I bought this year. So our numbers for that are going to be 408. Let me put them into the random generator. 408 through 553. So we're going to pick one of those so that I can have a little more variety in what I'm picking, but I can also be excited about using some newer things that otherwise would just be sitting there. And I did get this idea from both Becca Hope and Danny's Makeup Corner. I think, trying to remember, I know Danny just recently, because she combines her updates into her project cruelty or her mission cruelty free project, I think, and her Pan Those Eyeshadows, they're updated together. So what she was doing for it is she made categories of her different palettes, and like fall palettes or colorful palettes, or I don't know what her categories are, but like that. And so every couple of months she's going to pick a different set of palettes to randomly generate from, so that way there's a little more variety. And I know Becca Hope was also doing something similar. I'll have their channels linked down below so you can check them out. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly like the specifics of what they're both doing, but I know they're both doing something very similar, where they're not just putting all of their shadows in a spreadsheet and picking randomly like I have been doing. They're doing it a little bit more specific, so they have a chance to play with more of their eyeshadow. So anyway, okay, so now it's time to pick our palette. And I have paper and a pen, so let's choose a number. 507. Now, as for my singles, I have been on like an indie single binge. That's basically where most of my new shadows are from. So let's see. My singles are gonna be from number 197. And there's a couple that aren't going to be, of my newer singles that aren't going to be in this list, because they're part of like a brand that I've already got up further on my list, and then I have them all together and I didn't feel like separating them out. So I've got plenty to pick from without the like 3 or 4 that aren't going to be included. So it's not a big deal. So it's 197 through 312 for my singles, and we're going to be picking 2. So number 243, and number 306. Okay, so I'm going to look at my list, figure out what shades these are, go get the shadows, and then we'll be back to look at my new color story. Okay, I've got my new shades, so we're gonna start with my palette. I picked number 507, and I'm really excited about this one because I've only used this palette 2 times. The shade comes from my Nomad Cartagena Mágica palette, and it is this shade right here, La Diosa Coronada. It's like a matte orangey, matte burnt orangey kind of shade. There it is, swatched right there. The next are my 2 singles. So the first single that I got was number 243, which is the shade Berry Blitz from Looksy. I think I've only swatched this. I don't think I've actually put this on my eyes yet. But again, it's a shade that it's going to go really well with the Nomad shade and my Super Shock. And then the last single I got was number 306, and it is this shade called Sour Bill from Pretties for Your Face, which this I think will go really nicely with that dark green from the e.l.f. palette. So yeah, I'm really excited about my new color story. Like, again, it all seems to work very well together, especially these 3 shades and the 2 greens together, and I'm really excited to pull this out and use it some more because I mean, just look at how pretty this is. And I've only used it twice, and now I get to use it a lot more. So I'm super happy that I decided to do it this way. Does anybody really want to see me be kind of like, oh, I got this shade, or I got another cream shade that I have to roll through or whatever? So no spots from ColourPop, dark green from the Hot Jalapeno, Aero Super Shock, La Diosa Coronada, Berry Blitz, and Sour Bill. And I am super excited for this, and we'll see what I can manage to do before next update. So as always, I'll insert like a little clip of some of my eye looks. They were all pretty much the same. They looked very similar this month, so I don't think there's going to be very many. So I hope you enjoyed this update. So I hope you enjoyed this update, and I hope you're staying safe and happy and healthy and sane. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.